What is up? This is a man that needs no introduction. That's why he doesn't even have his name up there. Kenny, come on, can I get a look out?
Oh, it's early in the season. Look out, everybody. Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
I know I saw you at the field a couple of days, peeking in on the squad. What are you thinking so far heading into 2020?
Just as long as they stay healthy, they'll be okay. That's the way I look at it. I think the Yankees have the type of squad that can definitely win a World Series. I think that if everybody can get through spring training okay, then get through most of the season okay, I think they'll definitely be in the playoffs and go from there.
When you look at the team, obviously they won 103 games last year. They bettered themselves with Garrett Cole. But if there's one question mark, health aside, what would it be in your mind?
Whoa, gee, not much. When you look at at the team itself, the bullpen's one of the best.
Pretty set.
The starters are pretty good now. It's kind of a shame that Paxton was injured or had the back surgery, because then I think they really would have been good. But supposedly he's coming back in May or early June. Hopefully he just takes off right from there. The offense, they hit 306 home runs last year, scored the most runs. The defense, maybe there's one question. Gleyber Torres moving from second to shortstop full time. I think we know he can play it because he did so quite a bit last year with Didi being injured. But we'll see on an everyday basis this year.
I almost feel like he's going to need days off just because it's such a demanding position. And I know he's young, and I know everybody says, why do you need a day off? You should play every day. But Kenny, it's not like when you played, when everybody played every day.
Yeah.
Does that annoy you?
No, it
Does
doesn't.
That bother you? Are you like, why didn't they do that when I was playing?
No, because when I came to the ballpark, I expected to play.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to be in there 150, 155 games a year. There was one year I played every game. And I think that when you're batting third, you have a certain responsibility. That's where I used to hit in the lineup. And I felt that they needed me every day. I remember one day my elbow was hurting me prior to my elbow surgery, and I went to the trainer. I said, look, Ralph Salvon was a trainer. I said, Ralph, I don't think I can play today. I'm really hurting. And Ralph says, Singy, we really need you in there. You got to play. You got to get in there. So meanwhile, during the game, I hit a home run. And my elbow was like ready to explode. Yeah. So he walks the length of the bench, sits down next to me, and he says, people don't realize how much you're hurting. You're the greatest player in the world. He made me feel really good.
Well, that's good. Did your elbow still hurt?
Oh, darn right it did. But you know, a couple of days later, he said the same thing they did Murray, and I said to him, a couple of days ago, it was me who was the greatest player in the world.
It changed. It changed within 48 hours. Now, Earl Weaver, I bet he could be a little bit tough. If he would ever say you're not in the lineup, would you go toe-to-toe with Earl?
No. You see, when I had a day off, I was the DH. You know, usually I play right field every day. During doubleheaders, I would play right field one game. I'd be the DH the second game. So days off are when we got rained out. Those are my days off.
You mentioned the DH, and I'm curious to see what the Yankees and Aaron Boone do with that spot this year. Will it be a lot of Giancarlo Stanton, or will it be more like we've seen in past years, where it's almost like a half day for some of these guys?
Yeah, that's true, Rocky. I think that what's going to happen is it depends on who's healthy. You know, we saw all the injury situations last year, and the DH was rotated. I think they're going to rotate it again this year. Luke Voigt will DH a little bit. I think Andujar will DH. Stanton will do most of it, I believe. I just think they're going to move it around. Judge every once in a while. I just think that it keeps everybody, it gives you a half a day, so to speak.
Now, you're on the air with us on the 22nd. Yes Network will have the first game, the spring opener, if you will. It'll be you, Jack Curry, Michael Kay, myself. But we haven't really heard from you since all the crazy Astros stuff has come out. What was your reaction to it all?
I'm not happy about it, to be honest with you. Yeah. I think that their world championship definitely is tainted. I think that they haven't helped themselves with what they've had to say. To me personally, I don't think the punishment was discipline was strong enough. What you have now is players sniping at each other, which is not good. I can't remember that happening in the past. Any other time.
Even with steroids,
well,
it wasn't a full team that was involved with it collectively where they were all on board.
Well, you go back to the days when I was playing, you had strikes and lockouts every other year. And the union, the players stuck together, and that's why the players nowadays have the benefits they have now. I think when I look at it, I wish the discipline was stronger. I realize they give them immunity, get these guys to talk. But the fact is, I think from this point on, you have to lay down some rules. You know, this is under the bridge now. You know, it's not going to go away. The Astros are in for it this year. You know, wherever they go, wherever. You know, maybe I think the interesting thing, we'll see how their own fans react to them. See how, you know, when we're around batting practice and you see the teams mingle, and it'd be interesting to see what the other teams, how they react to the Astros from this point on. Will they mingle, you know, guys at second base during the game, shortstops come over and talk to you, and see what happens. You know, I don't think they're going to be quite as friendly this year with the Houston Astros, but I do feel there should be rules put in place in the future that will spell out exactly what's going to happen to you if you do this sort of thing again. Whichever team, and I think it's got to be a team punishment, not only the players who are involved. And what I mean by a team punishment, it will make the players who weren't involved speak up
sure.
and make sure that it doesn't happen in the future with their club. That way, suspensions can be, if you get suspended for a month or 2 months, that's a lot of money in this day and age.
You are a very good hitter. Can you describe to me what it would be like for somebody that's never stepped in the batter's box at any level, let alone the major league level, if you know what's coming as a hitter?
That's a pretty good, yeah. You know, it would certainly enhance your chances.
Sure.
I go back to the home run that Altuve hit to end the season for the Yankees. I'm not saying he knew what was coming. Chapman didn't make a particularly good pitch.
No, but he sure did stay back on that pitch.
My goodness, he did. And he threw him a decent slider to pitch before, but the second one wasn't quite as good. But if he knew it was coming, it really enhanced his chances being a bad pitch, so to speak, and the fact that he knew what was coming. You look at some of the pitchers throughout the league, both American League and National League teams that went into Houston and got hammered. I mean, you're hearing stories every day about pitchers who had the roughest day of the year in Houston. And you look at Tyler Glass now in the playoffs. I mean, this guy throws 100 miles an hour, and they lit him up like a Christmas tree. I just don't think that what they did was copacetic, so to speak. I just wish there was more punishment. I realize the commissioner couldn't do it, but I think in the future, man, there has to be suspensions, a lot of money involved. Teams get fined quite a bit, more than $5 million. I mean, the Astros made about $75 million from winning that World Series. So $5 million, you know, it fell out of their pockets onto the couch. So I just think that in the future, just make it really, really tough. And maybe like gambling. If you do it, you're out altogether, gone.
You really hope that this cleans it up a little bit, because it's certainly not great for the sport of baseball by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, here's my point, too. And you made a good point there. I think that, to me, sports is the ultimate reality TV. Fans, when they watch on TV or go to the ballpark or go to the football stadiums or whatever, they want to know what they're watching is real. If they have a feeling that it's not on the up and up, it's going to go back to when the White Sox threw the World Series in 1919. Baseball took a downturn. Attendance went down. In those days, the teams lived off attendance. There wasn't TV or whatever, or radio. But the fact is that they were rescued by Babe Ruth. I don't see any Babe Ruth out there right now to rescue baseball. So I would think that the players would think about this in the future, because these guys are shamed forever. You know, they still talk about the 1919 White Sox blowing the World Series. They're going to talk about this 100 years from now.
I'm curious, too. You'd always feel a certain way about it, but if they even appeared to be a little contrite in their apologies, would you maybe feel not better about it, but would you at least feel a little differently about it?
I would, but I think as a team, they don't want their championship to be tainted.
Sure.
But it already is. It already is.
Yeah.
They don't want to throw shade on it themselves. That's the way I look at it.
Now, you've been with Yes Network since the beginning.
Yeah.
Your favorite memory over the years of Yes?
Wow. Should I say the day you came? No.
Oh, my goodness. He's a smart man.
No,
he knows what he's doing.
I would think it was, I can recall when they closed the old Yankee Stadium. And the Yankees had some great teams, championships. I've been there for quite a few of them. But I think my favorite moment of all is Derek Jeter's speech when they closed the stadium.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, he played the role of the captain to the hilt that night. And he said, we're going to take these memories with us across the street to the new stadium. And they won the World Series the next year.
What were the early days of Yes like? Chaotic? Because it came together really fast.
Yeah, John Filippelli, who's our executive producer, and
Hi, Flip.
our bosses, yeah.
Raises for both of us.
Yeah, well,
Probably not.
he's going to have to pay you a lot longer than he's going to have to pay me. So to put it together in 4 months, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And, yeah, it is crazy, and it shows you the man knows his stuff. He knows his TV, he knows technology and TV, and to get it all done so quickly, and then be smart enough to hire me, or keep me, because I was already with the Yankees. Jim Cott and I had already been doing games for about 5 years for MSG. Gee, I've been here a long time, 24 years.
People love you though, Kenny. When you said you were retiring, there was outrage. People were saying, please get him back. Don't let him retire.
I remember you were on my case, weren't you?
I was.
Yeah, but
I didn't believe him. I said, you're coming back. You'll be back.
Eventually it's going to happen. There are other things in my life that mean a lot to me now. Baseball has always been, I've loved baseball since I was 4 years old. My dad introduced me to the game. But, you know, I got a grandson playing baseball now.
Little Jackson.
Yeah,
he's pretty good, too.
He is good. He plays football and basketball, too. And my granddaughter's a soccer player, and she's fantastic. Her mom was an All-American. So my daughter-in-law was All-American. So I really enjoy watching them. You know, I think people would understand that. I mean, you get to a point in your life when these kids are 10, 7, and 5 now. So I just want to be more a part of it. Now, I don't do as many games as I used to, so I can still see them. But eventually, I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn it all over to you and make sure Flip gives you a raise.
Oh, more. I love it. I love it. I love it. We want to be selfish, though, Kenny. We want you here for a long time. We understand.
I understand.
But we want you here. Also, how's the swing coming along? Because I know you like to get out on the golf course a little bit, too.
You know, I wasn't down here in Florida as early as I would have liked to. I had to get some dental work done up in Maryland where we live. And so I've only been in town for a little while, and it's too cold to play up there. So I played the other day in Lou Pinella's tournament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
how sweet, Lou.
yeah, and he's doing well. And Mike Torres is in my group, my good buddy down here, my former teammate. And I'm going to be playing again with him in a couple of days, so we'll be good.
Kenny keeps trying to get me to play. I max out at Top Golf, but maybe we can do that this spring.
We've got a tournament in Miami in November. That's after the World Series.
See, now
you're
he's
invited.
Pulling at my heartstrings. He knows I love Miami.
You're invited. It's Dennis Martin, El Presidente's tournament, and you're invited to play.
I will try to get my
You've
act
met
together.
Dennis.
I have. I'll try to get my act together by then so I don't embarrass myself.
Okay.
Now, some people don't realize this. Before you started doing games on TV, you actually did games on radio for Montreal.
Yeah. When I was originally hired, I was hired to do Blue Jay games on TV. All right. There were games that Tony Kubek couldn't do because of conflicts with NBC. So I was supposed to do 20 games. Just before spring training ended, the network came to me and says, how would you like to do, instead of 20 games, how would you like to do 80 games? And I said, well, I got to talk to my wife about that. And she said, well, you were going to do it? I said, well, yeah. Well, the Expos joined the network. So I did 60 Expo games and I did 20 Blue Jay games. Well, after 3 years, the Expos came to me and they said, we really like your work. And I said, that's nice. They said, we'd like you to do all our games. And I said, well, all your games they're not all on TV in English. They said, well, the games that aren't on TV you're going to do on radio. So that's where the play-by-play came in. And I worked with Dave Van Horn, who's now in the Hall of Fame. He's from Pennsylvania, like you are. And I really learned a lot from him. He's still working. He does the Marlins games on radio. So he's in Miami. And I was with the Expos for 12 years, doing both radio and TV. Enjoyed it. Teams were, okay. They had a couple of good years, a couple of really down years. And then I noticed that whenever we came to New York, people would sit in the back in the booth and listen to us. And those were the guys who were scouting me to Yankee games. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we went to, they said, called me up to New York for an audition. I was supposed to do 3 innings, voiceover. And after the first inning, they said, you're good, you got the job. So they said, but you got to meet George Steinbrenner. Well, you got to remember, I know the fans out there know I never played for the Yankees, and we played against them.
And they knew you.
Yeah,
and
they
knew
know
you.
it. Yeah, well, they knew us from New York too, so division rival. So we go in to meet George at then Legends Field, now Steinbrenner Field, and he's sitting on a long conference table, and we walk in, and I sit down next to him like I'm sitting next to you, and he looks me right in the eye and he says, "Our fans are not gonna like you." And I said, "With all due respect, Mr. Steinbrenner, why?" He said, "I can't recall all the bad things you used to do to us." And I said, "Mr. Steinbrenner, I was just doing my job." And
Yeah.
he says, "Well, you did it too well. You and that Eddie Murray guy." And so I said, then he started to say nice things. He says, "Oh, do you know this person?" I said, "No." He says, "Well, when you meet him, you'll like him." And when I went home, I told Suzanne, Suzanne's my wife, and I said, "I don't know if I'm getting this job or not." Well, they called me the next day and I had the job. And now I've been here 24 years.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah, that's
we are
pretty cool.
happy that you are
Yeah.
here. Now, throughout your broadcasting career,
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered, when did Lookout start? Was it early? Was it later? Was it TV?
It's kind of a family secret, but I don't want to give it away. But I used it. I started using it on TV.
Okay.
So I'll tell you after this is over.
Oh no, the people want to know.
Yeah,
The
but
people
no,
want to know.
No, I can't. No. But anyway, I started using it on TV, and it just stuck.
Yeah.
And then it started to take on a life of its own. I'm walking down the street on Lexington Avenue, New York. People, cab drivers rolling down. Look out! I'd look and I'd wave, and just stuff like that. So it's cool.
Look out!
Yeah,
no, I don't
yeah.
have. It's not the same coming from me.
Yeah.
We've got to have like a tutor session.
You got to anticipate too.
Okay.
You can see it.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. It's something else I wanted to ask you. You were talking about the play-by-play, and many former athletes just do color. They do the analysis work. They don't do the play-by-play. Did you find it difficult forcing yourself to try to do the play-by-play?
Well, I think it helped me growing up in New York because
Yeah.
I heard some of the best play-by-play guys growing up, like Mel Allen and Red Barber and Vin Scully for a while before he went to the West Coast, Russ Hodges, Bob Murphy, Lindsey Nelson, Ralph Kiner, all these guys. And my mom thought I was asleep at night, and I'd have the transistor under my pillow, listen to the ball game. And so I kind of knew the pacing and all that. And once I started doing the radio is actually a little bit more difficult because you're the eyes and you really have to be more descriptive. With TV, it's a little easier because the picture's there, and we have a great director in John Moore, and you follow the pictures. He's not going to lead you astray, and he's good at following us too. When we start telling a story, he knows where to go. In fact, every once in a while, I'll start saying something, and John will go to the picture.
He's
before.
already there.
He's
He
already
knows
there.
what you're doing.
And I pressed the button to talk to him in the truck, and I said, we've been working together too long. This is getting scary. And he says, "Yeah, I know where you're going." Yeah, so.
That's good, though.
Yeah,
That's how you know
it's
you have a
cool.
good rapport.
Yeah.
Do you mind answering some questions from some fans?
Not
'Cause
at
they knew
all.
you were coming on,
Oh,
and they have a
not
ton
at
of
all.
questions for you, so we have a little bit of time.
Okay.
Okay, we'll start with this one. This is a good one.
Mm-hmm.
How many games are you doing this year?
Well, it's still being negotiated, but I think I did about 25 to 30 last year, so that's a pretty good number. I think I think as the fans know, I do the games when they come to Baltimore because I live in Maryland. I do the games when they come here to play the Rays because we have a home here.
Yeah.
So I don't have to stay in hotels. And when the team goes to the West Coast, the other guys don't like going out there. It's too far.
Love the West
I
Coast.
love the West Coast.
Yeah.
It's great. My parents were married in Seattle, so I like going to Seattle. When I played in Seattle, I really played well there. And Oakland's cool. I mean, the stadium's lousy, but we stay in San Francisco, which
Not
is
terrible.
one of the best cities in the country. So basically, if you see me, that's probably where I'm going to be.
Aaron McKee wants to know, what's your favorite game to commentate on? What was your favorite game to commentate on?
There's been a number of them. I was fortunate enough to do David Wells' Perfect Game.
Oh.
Yeah,
nice.
so that's always going to be a good one. There's so many Yankee games. Oh, well, I'll tell you a story.
A lot of Yankees
Yeah,
classics
yeah.
over the years that you've been there.
Here's one. We were in Baltimore, and I was supposed to do the game with Paul O'Neill. Well, Paul had problems with his flight getting to Baltimore.
This is when you did the solo
I
one.
did the game by myself. Well, meanwhile, the game goes to the top of the ninth inning. It's tied 4-4, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be here all night. I'm going to be here all night. Well, Jorge Posada led off the 10th inning with a home run. Yankees go ahead 5-4. Before the ball landed, Mariano's warming up, and course, when he comes in, boom, 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 game over.
Forget it.
And I'm the happiest man in Baltimore. I went down and shook both their hands the next day.
Speaking of Baltimore, DJ wants to know, favorite Earl Weaver ejection? Can you pick just one?
Man, the guy got thrown out in 91 games. It's an American League record. I remember him getting thrown out in Cleveland one night. He had the rule book with him. The home plate umpire was Marty Springstead, and he told Marty, if we're not going to use these rules, we don't need them. And he tore the book up. And by the time the pieces hit the ground, he was out of the game.
Oh, my gosh.
And well, of course, Earl used to stay out there for 10, 15 minutes and argue more. And he was great. He was the greatest manager I ever played for. I mean, he always had your back, number one.
And that's very important.
Yes,
if
it
you're a
is.
player-manager relationship, that is first and foremost. Can I answer this one for you?
You can try.
Is he as nice in person as he sounds on the air?
Oh.
Yes, even nicer, if you can imagine such a thing. Good people right here.
Thank you.
Brian wants to know how you stay so fly.
I work out, keep young thoughts, don't worry about things I can't control, and try and stay active. I work out a lot in the wintertime.
Every day you work out.
Well,
like.
you know, there are days when I play golf. I'm not. Golfing's a workout. But in the winter, I'll sit down, I'll get up in the morning, I'll go down and turn on the MLB network or the Golf Channel or the news, and I'll sit down, I'll ride the exercise bike for 45 minutes. Then, as you know, in my house, I have a room where I can hit golf balls. So I do that.
Gotta get that in.
get that in. And also, I have a room where I can shoot baskets. And I don't do that as much as I used to, but I do that too.
Doesn't sound like a bad life, Kenny.
No,
Sounds quite
not
nice.
at all.
What do you think is baseball's most overrated stat right now?
They have stats have kind of evolved over the years, and it's almost as if wins and losses for pitchers. Because now the bullpens are used much more. Pitchers don't go as far into the games as they used to. The innings pitched are down for starters. So I think it's the wins and losses because the starters don't get as many. If you have a 20-game winner, he's really earned it because now these guys come out of the game in the sixth inning.
Be nice to see if they really let Garrett Cole go.
Well, he
And
won 20 last year.
You would think that they would, and you would hope that they would.
He won 20 last year.
Favorite city and then favorite ballpark. They don't need to be the same.
Okay, the favorite city outside of New York where I grew up and outside of Baltimore where I live, there's two of them. I would say Chicago. It's fantastic. That's where my mom grew up.
Yeah.
And Seattle, because that's where my parents are married.
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
there
beautiful
too.
city. The only problem with Seattle, it's too far away from everything else. And what was the other? The favorite?
Favorite ballpark, favorite city.
My favorite ballpark they hit in back in the day was the Kingdome, because Seattle had terrible pitchers and we used to just wear them out. Favorite ballpark? I like Camden Yards. I mean, it's pretty.
Yeah,
I mean, Yankee Stadium's great, but as far as sheer beauty, I think Camden Yards is, just great backdrop with that warehouse in right field.
This question comes from Meredith Maracovitz. Better moment in 1983, July 22nd, or the Orioles World Series? Answer carefully, Kenny. Answer carefully.
You know, we talk about this. The year I was with the Orioles, we won the World Series. The year she was born. My goodness. So anyway.
Good year. Good year for everybody.
It was a good year for everybody.
You don't have to that.
I will. Since I didn't know you then.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know you then.
Safe.
Yeah, we won the World Series. Yeah, we
man.
won the World Series, and that was the only World Championship team I was on. So that's good. I mean, there's only one Meredith, that's for sure too.
Anything else you need to get off your chest before we get going here?
I just want the fans out there to enjoy the season. There's going to be ups and downs. As good as the Yankees are, every team goes through some rough spots. You know, I was on a team that we had 2 7-game losing streaks and still won the World Series. So, there's players that are going to mess up or whatever. These guys are good. The only reason their errors look so bad because they're that good. They don't make that many. So I think from my standpoint, all these years I've been with the Yankees, every year's been a winning year. I really appreciate what the organization itself does. They try every year. You look around baseball, not every team tries every year, but this team does, and that's why I've enjoyed being with the Yankees every minute.
Kenny, you truly are the best. Thank you so much. I know the fans love you, and we look forward to hearing you and seeing you another year on Yes, and hopefully my cooking does not poison you, because if you're not there on the 22nd when Yes has their first game, it's probably my fault.
You know, I've sampled your cooking before. It's very good. There's people out there, if you ever get invited to Meredith's house to have something to eat, you're going to go away well satisfied.
I mean, how can we not end on that? Thank you so much for watching. He is the great Ken Singleton.